all. My favorite receiver has doesn't even have an S meter, signal strength meter in it. It was built in 1944. Not that they couldn't put a meter on a 1944 radio, they just chose not to. Anyway, let me see, believe it or not, Buzz, you always comment on how I seem to know a little bit about everything. That's what I went to school for. I actually had 2 periods a day for 3 years in school. And the horticulture lab. I was going to
jam me out of it here this week.
But I got out of high school with all this horticultural education, and found out that unless you owned a business in that realm, there really wasn't any money to be made. You were just a lumper. That's what it came down to. You either owned a business or you were just a lumper. And I learned stuff while I was in high school. But I had a real knack for working on heavy equipment. My father was in the heavy equipment business. And in my senior year, I took a day out of school and ripped a 20-speed gearbox out of a Mack. Tore it all apart on the floor of the garage. Sent the case out to be welded. And 2 days later, when the case came back, I took another day out of school, reassembled it all, and on Saturday, my brother and I, because it only weighed about 1,000 pounds, my brother and I got it back up into the truck. And, knowing that I had a knack in that, and getting a job opportunity doing that, I decided that, I would just stick with what I knew, and I probably could make a better living at it. And that was what I did.
I'm just testing this.
Anyway, back to you, Buzz. W3EMD, N1XZW.
That's a great story. N1XZW, W3EMD.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, you got to do what you're good at and what you like. And so it had a happy ending. My I'm trained in physics and everything like that, but my entire career is based on ham radio. And that's not a joke. One day when I was 12 years old, I decided that I knew everything there was to know in the world. I knew everything. But I didn't know how a radio worked. How does this magic radio thing work with the waves that go through the air? So went to the library and got a book, and it's been downhill from there. So that's how you end up where you end up. I'm sure everybody has their own story of how they ended up where they ended up. So let's see, the rotation, I guess over to you, Gordon, and then Perry, and then Frank. And Frank, you're the odd man out with conservatism on the software side, and I think both I'm certainly on your side, and I think Charlie is also. Software drives, I have bad enough trouble with my computer keeping things straight. Right now, suddenly on my iPhone, somebody did something, me or my wife. My wife's telephone calls are coming through on my iPhone. And I think it's something about if you're close enough together on the same network or something, blah, blah, blah. Someplace I touched a button or a switch or something. So now her phone calls are coming in on my phone. And I got to figure out how to stop that. W2GOR in the group, W3EMD.
I hear a carrier in there. I'm not sure if that's somebody trying to break in.
All right, very good, Charlie. And Buzz, sorry I called you Jim again. It's this log. Every time you log in a new contact with W3MD, your other name comes up. So I think I'm going to go to Excel or something. But real good. So I'll turn it over to Frank. More to add here. And W2SDR. W2GOR in the group. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, that's I was just thinking the same thing. Go ahead, Perry, and then send it to me.
Oh, no problem. I'm just over here scanning the interwebs. Well, interesting, Buzz. I didn't know that. I didn't know that's what you did for a career. That's pretty interesting. I'd like to maybe hear a little bit more if you're willing to share someday. Not now, but it's pretty interesting. Physicists always amazed me. I see watch some videos online, and some of these guys are pretty good at what they do. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I chose to be an automotive technician when I was really young. I don't know. I think when my dad, he had a 1970 Chevelle SS, and that just intrigued me, and I was always in my mind. I wasn't a guy big on college or anything. I went to college for a very short period of time that didn't last long, and then I kept on working, but it was just the career that was in my head as an automotive technician. That's what I'm gonna do, and it ended up working out pretty well. It's been it pays me well, and I enjoy it. It took a while to find a good place where I really enjoyed the surroundings. Sometimes it could be you got to bounce around to really find a good place, and it can take a while, but I'm happy with it. There was times where I thought about changing a career, but 10 or so years ago, but now I've been doing it for almost 21 years. Coming up, I started off sweeping floors and changing oil in a little one-man shop down the street from where I grew up. So I learned the storybook way, I guess. So over to you, Pop. And yeah, he's on the bandwagon. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. W3MMR.
W2FSC.
W2FSC, break it in there. I'll get it right over to you. And okay, everybody, and very interesting. Physicist. I'm gonna write that down. I was struggling trying to remember how to spell that. I guess if you can't spell it, you're too dumb to be one. I guess. Yeah, that's all that atomic power and all that, and electronics is in with physics. So very cool. Yeah, it's a good field. You can't go too wrong with that today. Perry, maybe you're gonna have a second career, man. Another 10, 15 years, retire from the auto industry and become a physicist. That'd be pretty cool. So anyway, I wonder how work was today, in the whole 9 yards, and I'd made some chicken wings, but I messed them up, so I couldn't eat them, so I had to scrounge around for something else to eat. Okay, over to you, W2FSC, then turn it to Charlie, N1XZW. This is W2SDR, over.
Hop in here. Call is Whiskey 2 Frank Charlie, W2FFC. Handle is John, Juliet Oscar Hotel November. Located in Clifton Park, New York. Running a mighty 50 or 60 watts. Using a BC 375 that I refurbished. And real glad that you guys can hear me tonight. So I had the last snowstorm here, took my antenna down because a neighbor's pine tree dropped on it, and it took the antenna down and broke the mast that it was mounted to. So I had to move it 10 feet away. And it's only up about 9 feet now, but I hope it still works okay. It seems to load just fine, and Everybody's got a dandy signal in here. So very good. I want to make sure everybody is helping me okay. Over to you, Charlie. This is Whiskey 2 Fox Charlie, Clifton Park, New York.
W2FFC N1XZW. Yep, we're hearing you. Not quite as loud as the other guys, but then again, you're not running as much power, and your antenna's probably not as high. But I'm in the same boat. I got a little more power than you do, but my antenna is makeshift, to say the least. Anyway, yeah, physicist. So you figure out why the wheels go round and round, and I figure out how to make them go round and round again when they stop. That works, right? Anyway, yeah, that's a very, very high education field. I made it through high school, and truthfully, Buzz, I was doing good to make it through high school. I think about all of my cousins, and none of the boys, of all of my cousins and my brother, none of the boys completed high school. My brother went off to trade school, and before he finished his trade school, he dropped out to go run a bulldozer. And each of my cousins dropped out of high school and went to work. And I knew I was going to follow in my brother's footsteps. If I got my driver's license, I would be too valuable to my father for me to continue school. So I just absolutely refused to go take my road test, or for that matter, to even get my learner's permit until I graduated. I took my driver's education course when I was 15 years old and didn't get my license till I was 18. Not that that stopped me from driving during that time. I think I was 12 and a half the first time I was with my father on a job site, and we were going to need the machine back at the gravel pit for the morning. And my father says, well, we need this machine back at the gravel pit for the morning. What do you want to drive? The 3414 backhoe or the car? And I looked at the caddy. He had a caddy at the time. And I looked at the machine, and I said, well, Dad, if I lose it and I go into the woods with the machine, the most I'm going to do is knock down a tree. If I lose it with the car, I'm going to ruin it. So I'll take the machine. And at 12 and a half years old, I proceeded to drive a 3414 International Harvester backhoe payloader across town, including some secondary highways. But that's not rocket science, though. That's just stupidity. W3EMD, N1XZW.
Yeah, N1XZW and the group W3EMD. Very good. That's quite an adventure. You're lucky you weren't seen by the police, or maybe you were, and they just let you go anyway. I had a question for Perry. Very interesting question. These days, with so much electronics and software in cars, how do you deal with that? I mean, when I was a kid and we would repair cars, it's the points, it's the plugs, it's the alternator, it's the rings, that's all. I mean, but these days with the software-intensive cars, my goodness, you have enough diagnostic tools that you really can figure out what's going on by using these diagnostic tools that I guess plug into ports on the car. And do you ever have real frustrations with the amount of electronics and software that's involved? it's kind of like this. It's the same conversation we've been having about the Anon that all you guys are using, and Charlie and me, and I guess John also. Using older vacuum tube equipment with no software whatsoever. My transmitter doesn't know the word software. So I was curious how you deal with that. And as for a physicist, just a very 3 or 4 sentences, the problem with a physicist is I couldn't get a job. There were no jobs. I was in school for years and years and years, and when I came out, there were no jobs. There was a particular reason for why there were no jobs at that time. I can tell you that story at a different time, because that's a little bit of politics, and I don't like to do that on the air. Every job that I've really had, studying physics teaches you how to think, but every job that I've really had has been the result of ham radio and everything I learned about electronics and radio. I'm not an engineer, never took an engineering course, but I've been engineering director of fairly large companies. I had to fake it, but managed to do it. Just by, talking about what was happening on 20 meters or something. So, let's see. Did I hear Gordon? I thought I heard a voice. Gordon said he left. Let me try to turn it down to him. And if he's not there, why, I guess Perry can pick it up. This is W3EMD to WKGOR.
Gordon signed out, Buzz.
Kilo Delta 2 Alpha Foxtrot Lima.
Hey, Daryl. What's going on, man? I'll get it over to you here in a minute. Well, Buzz, cars are fair. I mean, to me, they're fairly simple, but everything is sensor driven. Okay, there's hundreds of sensors on these cars. Okay, and there's different. They're all controlled by its own little computer. Okay, so like all the engine performance stuff for the engine, the gas, your gas tank. Everything that drives the engine, the power, that's your powertrain control module. Then you have stuff that your interior control module, your body control module, which controls all the windows and the HVAC. Okay, and there's hundreds and hundreds of sensors on all that stuff. Okay, and it just signals in and signals out. The sensors are telling the PCM what the engine's doing, how much air is coming in the engine, okay, what temperature that air is, and that controls, your throttle, and then that determines, how much the throttle body is going to open, and that's pulse width modulated controlled, okay, and that it commands, the angle, and you're getting angle feedback of that throttle body to the PCM, and on these scan tools, you can basically sit there and watch all the sensors, what they're doing. You have each sensor will have its what its voltage is, how much air is coming in the engine, and if the grounds are good, I mean it can go down to pretty much anything. And then there's just lots of wires, so you're checking signals, if checking continuity of wires, checking to see if you have the proper signals coming from the PCM going to the whatever sensor, whatever it's controlling. I mean, it can get fairly involved. A lot of people don't think, it's just a car, it's an engine, it's gas, it's air, it's and tires, but these things are pretty involved nowadays. And the more technology that's going to, these cars have radar nowadays, multiple radar systems in them for all the blind spot monitoring, and backup cameras and backup sensors, and it'll tell you how far away you are from an object that's in front of you, and you can see all of that right on the screen in the car. These cars are so advanced, it's pretty amazing. Hey Daryl, turn it over to my dad when you're done. KD2 AFL in the group, W3MMR, and that's W2SDR.
Okay, Perry, good evening to you. Forgive me, everybody. I just tuned this thing down here. I don't be sounding A-OK. I don't know. I don't know. Is my audio okay on this thing? I'm looking at the scope. It doesn't look too good, Perry. What's going on?
Well, it sounds great, Daryl. I wouldn't touch a thing. I think it sounds fantastic.
Okay. Well, hello, Frank, everybody out there. Charlie. I don't know. All right, I'm going to sit back and see what's going on. So I'll turn it over to you, Frank. Is it W2SD? You said, Perry, go ahead.
That's him. Go ahead, Pop.
Yeah, okay. Hi, Daryl. How you doing? Yeah, you're coming in good down here. In southern New Jersey, about 20 over. Everybody's up in red here, without a problem. So, nice group tonight. Band sounds quiet. A lot of stations on. But every once in a while I hear a heterodyne on 3880. So 9, and I don't hear it. So, yep. Yeah, well, the cars is just different. It's like anything else, you know. And there's some you can really fine-tune these cars, you know. I mean, they run so much better for the most part than them older cars. Older cars, you always had to get them tuned up. They'd be missing. They'd be hesitating. Plugs only lasted a few thousand miles. They were a lot of trouble. They were simple, but they were trouble. Over to you, John. W2FFC in the group. W2SDR.
Over here, very good. W2SDR in the group. W2FFC. Boy, that signals are really good up here tonight. I'm in Clifton Park, New York, which is about 10 miles north of Albany and a little bit of south of Saratoga. And everybody's sort of paying the S-meter over, about between 20 and 40 over. Receiving on the phone anchor receiver with that lead of an HRO 5TA1. And the transmitter is a military 370 PC375. Probably putting about 50 or 60 watts, and I've had such a good time with this transmitter, putting the thing on the air and, you know, getting it on, and it was made in Schenectady, New York, which is only about 5 or 6 miles from where I live, so, and it also happened to be 79 years of age, which is exactly my age. So I've had a really good time with this transmitter. I do have a modern equipment too, but I don't use it. I just like the stuff that I had to build things for. I had to build the power supplies and stuff to make the DC-375 come alive. So I have more fun fiddling and enjoying on the air, making equipment, and also in the hi-fi and also organ too. So very good. We'll kick it over to Buzz. The next stop on the road here. W3AMD, I believe, Buzz. And group W2FFC, Clifton Park.
Yeah, fine, W2FFC and the group W3EMD. First, good evening to Daryl. It's been a quite some time. I hear you on, but we have never worked recently. This is Buzz. I'm in the Hudson Valley, 100 miles north of New York City, and the signal sounds real good. I'm looking at it on the scope here, and modulation is very good. As I agree with Perry. Don't touch a thing. John, you've got to come and join the old military radio net. We get up at 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday on this frequency is the old military radio net, and there are a couple of BC 375s that check in every once in a while. So come and join us. The net runs from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. On this frequency. And I know the 375 was the transmitter on the B-17 aircraft, I think. So it's real good. There was the one guy on the old military radio net just last year got a brand new BC375. It was in a box after it was made, and he opened that box just last year, and it was made, I guess in the 1940s, and he has a brand new BC375. So come and join us. My question for you, Perry, is, we all play with radios, and what happens when you get a loose ground lug? In one of these very sophisticated systems. I mean, there's a ground lug on one of these boxes, and it gets loose. How do you go about finding that? I guess you can tell from looking at the signals. I mean, some very trivially wrong thing with the with one of these boxes. I know the tendency is, if there's a trouble in the box, people just replace the box whole. Don't try to troubleshoot what's in it. But suppose you got some kind of a wiring issue, like a ground lug or something that's loose, or a connector that's not quite making it. How do you find that with all this these incredibly complex systems? That's my question. So let's see. I guess I should turn it to Charlie, I think, at this point, and you can turn it to Daryl, and then Perry. N1XZW, W3EMD.
W3EMD, N1XZW. Yeah, we got twisted around, Buzz. I was turning it to you before. But that's all right, don't matter. Yeah, well, that's I dealt with the same thing in trucks, only I never really got into it, but it seemed to me depending on what codes I was getting in the trucks, if I called the dealer, talked to the head mechanic down there, a lot of times he would tell me that the ground, a particular ground connection that's near the battery box that feeds the grounds to the CPUs was probably dirty, and in most cases that was the case. But there's not a lot of grounding lugs on a big truck. Almost everything goes to a central grounding point. Anyway, it's after 8, and I'm going to check out, go upstairs and do a few things before bedtime. We're hearing everybody this evening. It's been a good group in here this evening. So down to Daryl. And good evening, Daryl. N1XZW.
Okay, Charlie. Sounding marvelous down here. Hello, W3EMD. Sound good also. But, hey, Perry, you still out there?
Oh, yeah, I haven't gone anywhere.
You remember about 2 years ago, I was looking for the AR-13. Remember that? I supposed got it from that guy. I don't know who he was. I forgot. But remember, I was looking for one.
Yeah, that ART-13. Yeah, I remember that, and I think we. Yeah, okay, I remember that. Yeah, and I remember who you were going to get it from.
Yeah, I couldn't get a hold of him or something. I don't know. Lost communication. I don't know. Well, I got one. It's coming. I lucked up and got one from Robert.
Oh, very nice. Well, good. I hope. I don't know if you gotten it yet, but hopefully you get it soon. Or if you have it, man, I hope you enjoy it. And you have to get up early for the old military radio net, man, and join. I know it's early in the morning, 5 o'clock on Saturday morning, but man, we get a good group of military transmitters in there.
No, I don't have it yet, but it's in the mind. It's in the works, but. Yeah, I'm on the old gates here tonight. I don't know, my scope look funny. I'm gonna have to check something out. Alright, Perry, y'all take care. I'm gonna check out this transmitter. This is KD2AFL on the gates, BC1T. I'll be standing by, Perry. You go ahead and run with it, and take care, everybody.
Yeah, all right, Daryl. Well, great to hear you, man. You sound fantastic. I mean, big signal. Audio sounds great. And, I mean, really, I wouldn't touch a thing. It sounds fantastic. So, yeah, maybe you just have a loose connection there with the RF pickup. Well, Buzz, about the how do you figure out? Well, like Charlie was saying, okay, you get diagnostic trouble codes. When your check engine light comes on, you get a code, okay? And it points you to an area that that's having the fault. It'll have like a sensor fault, or it could tell if it's a circuit fault or if you lose a ground, okay? And I'll tell you this, or the sensor, something's wrong with the sensor basically. And you go there, you test the sensor out, make sure it's good. Or if it's a wiring issue, which it's usually not a wiring issue, but a lot of the times, well, a few times already actually this winter you get rodent damage and things like that. But usually you don't get broken wires. But every wire on the car, and there's thousands upon thousands of wires, okay? And they're all different colors. They're color-coded wires, and we have access to, all the schematics and all the wiring diagrams for all these different cars on some of the software we use at work. All Data, Identifix, Mitchell On Demand, and these, companies put out, all the schematics, all the information. There's repair procedures in there, diagnostic procedures, and there's a lot at our disposal. Okay, because without that stuff, I mean, every car is different. It would be, almost impossible. I mean, because the connectors on the PCMs, they're, 70 or 80 pins a piece. You got to know what's going to what, so you can check the continuity of these wires, and really narrow down these problems. So, I guess it's just like, it's really just like any other troubleshooting, like troubleshooting and, down to the component level in a radio. Everything's got its purpose, and it can only work so many ways. So I really do enjoy it, because I am a diagnostic technician. That's all I do all day. I sit with a scanner in my hand and diagnosing issues, check engine lights, things like that. And I do heavy work still, timing chains, engine replacements, things like that. But a lot of my time is sitting behind the steering wheel with a computer in my hand, and diagnosing issues and, scoping. I had to bring my oscilloscope into work the other day. It gets pretty involved, so it's fun. I really do enjoy it. So I'll stick in here for one more, then I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to get in the other room, get in the horizontal position, and relax for the rest of the evening, because I have off tomorrow, and I would like to get up early maybe and get on the air. So over to you, Pop. W2SDR in the group, W3MMR.
3EMD, I just got the dinner call.
All right, Buzz, Perry, I'm going to jump out of here too. So I guess it just leaves you there, John. So we'll see all you guys later. W2SDR. Up to you, John.
Okay, very good, gang. I'm going to check out too, but thank you for letting me jump into the group tonight. Nice bunch of guys all have great signals, and I'm glad everybody's hearing me with my 9-foot high antenna. So I think Charlie gets it next, W2FSC.
Charlie, did you sign? I guess he did. And John, I'm sorry. Man, I had it written down here to make a few comments, but I got so wrapped up in the automotive discussion. I'm sorry. And Buzz 73, really great to hear you tonight. We'll catch you later. Enjoy your dinner. And but no, John, the BC375 is sounding fantastic. Great signal. I mean, you're 15 to 20 over down here. The name is Perry, Papa Echo Romeo, Romeo Yankee, W3MMR is the call, and we're 7 miles southwest of the Philadelphia International Airport, right outside of Philadelphia here, in southeast Pennsylvania, so in Chester, Pennsylvania. So sounding great, John. We'll say 7-3 to you. Really great to hear you this evening and to get you in the log. And Charlie, Pop. That's my dad, W2SDR, who just signed over in New Jersey. Buzz, Gordon, I know was in there, and we'll catch you guys later. Well, you all have a great evening. And John, I guess I'll send it over to you for any final comments, and we'll say 7-3. W2FFC, W3MMR. See you guys.
Yeah, W3MMR, W2FFC, very good. Well, thank you. I'm glad to hear that it's doing so well into PA. One of my favorite places in the world. But, I used to live in Strasburg for a while, and my daughter lives in Maryland, so we like Pennsylvania a lot. Except if you go down to Philadelphia, you got to stay out of the Kensington section, that's for sure. Just like every other big city, they've got their problems. But I'm really glad I got in here tonight, and you're doing okay. So I'll make this my final, and I thank you very much. And as far as the military net goes, it sounds good, but getting up at 5 something in the morning, and my weekends are kind of busy because I'm a church organist on Sunday, and then Saturday's my practice day, so I don't think I'll be doing that, although I just love working with other people who enjoy military equipment too. So W3MMR, W2FFC signing clear. Good night all, and thank you much for letting me in.
Yeah, see you, John. Really great to hear you. Yeah, I know. 5 a.m. on a Saturday is quite tough for a lot of folks. So, but maybe one day you'll be getting up early for some other reason, and you'll remember, and maybe we'll hear you on there. 7-3, John. Great talking to you guys. Great talking to everyone. Great group tonight. W3MMR 7-3.